The studio lights blazed brightly, casting a warm golden glow over the stage. The audience sat eagerly in their seats, buzzing with anticipation. It was Friday night, and everyone knew this episode of Live with Alex Carter would be one to remember. Alex Carter, the charismatic host known for his quick wit and bold opinions, had invited Emma Lewis, a rising journalist and author, to discuss her new book about faith in today's fast-paced world. Emma was not just any guest. She had gained attention for her thoughtful approach to difficult topics, blending intellectual rigor with heartfelt sincerity. As the cameras rolled, Alex welcomed Emma onto the stage with his trademark charm. She walked gracefully, wearing a simple yet elegant dress. Around her neck hung a delicate cross necklace that caught the light as she moved. Alex gestured toward it almost immediately after they exchanged pleasantries. "So, Emma," he began, leaning back slightly in his chair, "I couldn't help but notice you're wearing a cross tonight. That must mean something special, right?" Emma smiled warmly, unfazed by his directness. "It does," she replied, touching the pendant gently. "For me, it's a reminder of my faith and the values I hold dear. It also symbolizes hope and resilience, especially in challenging times." Alex tilted his head, raising an eyebrow playfully. "Hope and resilience, huh? Interesting choice for a live TV appearance. Don't you think some people might find it polarizing?" His tone wasn't harsh, but there was a teasing edge to it, as if he were daring her to defend herself. Emma chuckled softly, clearly accustomed to such questions. "Well, Alex, I don't see why it should be divisive. Faith is deeply personal, and symbols like this are simply expressions of what we believe in. They connect us to something greater than ourselves." Alex smirked, leaning forward now. "But isn't that the problem? Not everyone shares your beliefs. Some might even argue that wearing something so overtly religious on national television could alienate viewers who don't share those same views." He paused dramatically, letting his words sink in before adding with a grin, "Or maybe you're trying to convert us all while we're glued to our screens." The audience erupted into laughter, clapping at his joke. Emma joined in politely, though her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. She understood that Alex was only doing his job, entertaining the crowd, but the comment stung more than she let on. Still, she kept her composure, responding with calm confidence. "If anything, Alex, I'm here to start conversations, not conversions. My book explores how faith can coexist with modern life, and I think that's a discussion worth having." Her poise impressed some members of the audience, but others shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Social media lit up within seconds as viewers reacted to the exchange. On platforms like Twitter and Instagram, hashtags related to the show began trending. Some defended Alex, saying he was just being funny and lighthearted. Others criticized him, accusing him of mocking Emma's beliefs. A few praised Emma for handling the situation with grace, calling her a role model for standing firm without resorting to anger. Back in the studio, the interview continued, but the tension lingered beneath the surface. Alex steered the conversation toward lighter topics, asking Emma about her writing process and the inspiration behind her book. Despite his earlier remark, he seemed genuinely interested in her work, and Emma answered thoughtfully, sharing anecdotes from her research and personal experiences. Yet every time the camera panned to her, the glint of the cross around her neck served as a silent reminder of the moment that had already sparked controversy. When the show ended, Emma thanked Alex for having her and left the stage with quiet dignity. Backstage, a production assistant handed her phone back, which had been buzzing nonstop during the taping. As she scrolled through notifications, she saw countless messages from friends, fans, and strangers alike. Many offered support, praising her for staying composed under pressure. Others asked what she planned to do next given the public reaction to Alex's comments. Emma sighed, setting the phone down. She hadn't expected the incident to blow up the way it did, but she refused to let it define her. Instead, she decided to use it as an opportunity to teach not just Alex but anyone watching a lesson they wouldn't soon forget. With renewed determination, she drafted a message to Alex's team, proposing a follow-up meeting. She didn't elaborate on the details, instead leaving it vague enough to pique his curiosity. Meanwhile, Alex reviewed the episode footage in his dressing room. At first, he laughed at his own jokes, pleased with how smoothly the interview had gone. But as he replayed the segment where he teased Emma about the cross, his expression grew thoughtful. He realized that while his comment might have entertained some viewers, it could also come across as dismissive or insensitive to others. For the first time in years, doubt crept into his mind. Had he crossed a line? His phone buzzed incessantly, echoing the chaos unfolding online. Tweets ranged from supportive, classic Alex humor, to scathing, he has no respect for anyone's beliefs. The mixed reactions weighed on him, forcing him to confront the possibility that his words carried consequences far beyond the confines of the studio. Just as he was about to put the phone away, a notification popped up, an email from Emma Lewis herself. Curiosity got the better of him and he opened the message. It was brief but intriguing. Alex, thank you for having me on your show. If you're willing, I'd like to invite you to experience something extraordinary, one that might change how you view symbols like the cross. Let me know if you're interested. There was no demand, no accusation, just a calm invitation. Alex stared at the screen, unsure of what to make of it. Was this some kind of publicity stunt? Or was Emma genuinely offering him a chance to learn something valuable? Either way, he couldn't deny that her words stirred something deep within him, a mix of guilt, curiosity, and perhaps even a desire to grow. After a long pause, he typed out a reply. Tell me more. Little did either of them know, this decision would set off a chain of events neither could have anticipated. What started as a seemingly harmless joke on live television was about to transform into a journey that challenged everything Alex thought he knew about belief, humanity, and the power of understanding. The days that followed the talk show were a whirlwind for both Alex and Emma. Social media continued to buzz with reactions to their exchange, and news outlets picked up the story, dissecting every word Alex had said. Some commentators defended him, saying he was just doing his job as an entertainer. Others criticized him harshly, accusing him of mocking something sacred and dismissing Emma's beliefs without respect. For Alex, who was used to being in the spotlight, this level of scrutiny felt different. It wasn't just about his career, it was personal. His team called an emergency meeting at his Los Angeles home office. They gathered around the large oak table, laptops open and phones buzzing constantly. His publicist, Lisa, was the first to speak. Alex, we need to address this quickly. People are calling you out and it's starting to affect your brand. A lot of sponsors are watching closely. Alex leaned back in his chair, rubbing his temples. He hated when things got this complicated. I know, he said, sighing. But what do you want me to do? Apologize on air? That feels disingenuous, if I don't mean it. Lisa shook her head. It doesn't matter if you mean it or not. What matters is how it looks. You can spin it positively. Say you're open to learning more about faith and diversity. Alex frowned, tapping his fingers on the table. He didn't like the idea of faking an apology, but he also knew Lisa had a point. His image was everything in this business. Still, something about the situation gnawed at him. Maybe it was Emma's calm demeanor during the interview, or maybe it was the email she sent afterward. Whatever it was, he couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this than damage control. Later that evening, after everyone had left, Alex sat alone in his living room staring at his phone. He opened Emma's email again and read it carefully. Her words were simple yet powerful. If you're willing, I'd like to invite you to experience something extraordinary, one that might change how you view symbols like the cross. He wondered what she meant by extraordinary. Was it some kind of religious ceremony, a lecture, or was it something else entirely? The curiosity tugged at him, stronger than his initial skepticism. Finally, he typed out a reply. Tell me more. Emma responded within minutes. She sent him an address, an old observatory on the outskirts of Los Angeles, and told him to come alone at midnight. There were no further details, just a short note. Be ready for something you've never seen before. Alex stared at the message, his heart racing. Part of him wanted to ignore it, write it off as nonsense, but another part, the part that loved adventure and thrived on mystery, couldn't resist. By midnight, he found himself driving through the quiet streets of LA, heading toward the location Emma had given him. When he arrived, the observatory loomed ahead, its silhouette outlined against the dark sky. It looked abandoned with broken windows and overgrown grass surrounding the building. Alex parked his car and stepped out, glancing around nervously. The place gave him the creeps, but he reminded himself why he was here. If nothing else, he owed Emma the courtesy of showing up after her intriguing invitation. As he approached the entrance, he saw Emma standing near the doorway, illuminated by the soft glow of a lantern. She smiled when she saw him, her expression calm and reassuring. "You came?" she said softly. "I did," Alex replied, trying to sound casual despite his unease. "So, what's this all about?" Emma gestured for him to follow her inside. "You'll see soon enough. Just keep an open mind." The interior of the observatory was dimly lit, filled with dust-covered telescopes and stacks of old books. In the center of the room stood a large circular platform, surrounded by strange symbols etched into the floor. Emma walked to the edge of the platform and turned to face Alex. "Before we begin, I want to make one thing clear. What you're about to witness isn't meant to prove anything. It's meant to show you possibilities. Possibilities beyond what you might have imagined." Alex raised an eyebrow. "Okay. So, what exactly am I supposed to be seeing?" Emma didn't answer right away. Instead, she reached into her bag and pulled out a small device, a metallic orb about the size of a baseball. She placed it gently on the platform and stepped back. "Watch." At first, nothing happened. Alex crossed, his arms feeling a mix of impatience and skepticism. Then, without warning, the orb began to glow. A low hum filled the air, growing louder and more intense with each passing second. Suddenly, beams of light shot upward, forming intricate patterns on the ceiling. The symbols on the floor lit up as well, pulsating with energy. Alex took a step back, his eyes wide with disbelief. "What the hell is this?" he whispered. Emma remained calm, her gaze fixed on the spectacle unfolding before them. "This is just the beginning." The lights grew brighter, almost blinding, and then the room seemed to shift. The walls dissolved into darkness, replaced by a vast expanse of stars and galaxies. Alex stumbled backward, overwhelmed by the sudden change. He realized they were no longer in the observatory. They were somewhere else entirely, floating around. Them were images of distant worlds, each one teeming with life. Strange creatures moved across alien landscapes, their forms unlike anything Alex had ever seen. Despite their differences, there was a sense of unity among these beings, a shared connection that transcended language or culture, and woven throughout the scenes was a recurring symbol, a shape that looked remarkably like the cross Emma wore around her neck. This can't be real," Alex stammered, his voice trembling. "How is this possible?" "It's real," Emma said quietly. "These are glimpses of civilizations from across the galaxy. Each one has grappled with questions of purpose, morality, and meaning. And while their interpretations vary, certain themes emerge repeatedly: sacrifice, redemption, hope." Alex struggled to process what he was seeing. His mind raced with questions, doubts, and wonder. But why does the cross keep appearing? Why is it everywhere? Emma turned to look at him, her expression thoughtful. Because it represents universal truths, concepts that resonate with intelligent beings regardless of where they come from. Symbols like this aren't just human inventions, they're reflections of something deeper, something fundamental to existence itself. For a moment, Alex was speechless. He felt small, insignificant in the grand scheme of things. Yet at the same time he felt connected, to Emma, to the universe, to something greater than himself. The weight of his earlier joke hit him hard, and he realized how shallow it had been. Mocking someone's beliefs wasn't just disrespectful, it was ignorant. As the vision faded and they returned to the observatory, Alex sank onto a nearby bench, his hands shaking. Emma sat beside him, giving him space to process everything. After several minutes of silence, he finally spoke. "I don't even know where to start. This changes everything." Emma nodded. "That's the point. Sometimes we need to step outside our comfort zones to truly understand others. Tonight was just the beginning. What you choose to do with this experience is up to you." Alex looked at her, gratitude and humility washing over him. For the first time in years, he felt genuinely humbled. Whatever came next, he knew one thing for sure: he couldn't go back to the way things were before. The drive back home was quiet, but Alex's mind was anything but. The images from the observatory replayed in his head over and over again: galaxies swirling with life, strange creatures moving across alien landscapes, and that recurring symbol that looked like a cross. It wasn't just the visuals that stuck with him. It was the feeling of being connected to something vast and unknowable. For someone who had spent most of his life focused on himself, on his career, and on what made him laugh or entertained others, this experience felt like a wake-up call. When he arrived at his house, Alex didn't turn on the lights. He sat in the dark living room, staring out the window at the night sky. The stars seemed brighter now, almost alive. He thought about Emma's words. Sometimes we need to step outside our comfort zones to truly understand others. Those words echoed in his mind, gnawing at him. He had always prided himself on being clever, quick-witted, and entertaining. But now, for the first time, he wondered if his humor came at too high a cost. Was he using laughter as a shield to avoid deeper conversations? Was he dismissing people's beliefs because they didn't fit into his worldview? Alex grabbed his phone and opened social media. The backlash from the talk show was still going strong. People were divided, some defending him as a comedic genius, others calling him insensitive and disrespectful. Scrolling through the comments, he noticed something he hadn't paid attention to before. Many of the negative reactions weren't just angry, they were hurt. Some users shared personal stories about why their faith mattered to them, how symbols like the cross gave them strength during difficult times. Reading these messages, Alex felt a pang of guilt. He realized that his joke hadn't just been a harmless quip. It had struck a nerve because it invalidated something deeply meaningful to others. He put the phone down and leaned back on the couch, closing his eyes. What Emma had shown him wasn't just about aliens or cosmic phenomena. It was about perspective. It was about understanding that symbols, whether religious or cultural, carried weight far beyond their physical appearance. They were tied to identity, history, and hope. And by mocking Emma's cross, Alex had unknowingly dismissed all of that. Dubbin. Next morning, Alex called Lisa, his publicist. "I need to do something," he said when she answered. "Not just for my image, but because it's the right thing to do." Lisa sounded surprised. "What are you thinking?" "I want to invite Emma back on the show," Alex explained. "But not for another debate or interview. I want to use the platform to explore different beliefs and symbols, to show people that we don't have to agree on everything to respect each other." Lisa hesitated. "That's unexpected. Are you sure you're ready for that? It's a big shift from your usual style." "I'm sure," Alex replied firmly. "This isn't about ratings or sponsors anymore. It's about doing the right thing." After hanging up, Alex reached out to Emma. He sent her a text. "Thank you for last night. I'd like to make things right. Can we meet soon to discuss?" "An idea?" Emma responded quickly. "Of course, let me know when and where." They met at a small cafe near the beach. The sun was shining, and the sound of waves crashing against the shore provided a calming backdrop. Emma arrived wearing the same cross necklace, its presence somehow more significant now than ever. Alex greeted her warmly, pulling out a chair for her to sit. "Thanks for coming," he said as they settled in. "I wanted to talk about what happened and what I saw last night." Emma nodded, sipping her coffee. "Go ahead." Alex took a deep breath. "First, I owe you an apology. My comment about your cross wasn't funny or clever. It was dismissive and disrespectful. I didn't mean to hurt you, but I see now that I did." And I'm sorry. Emma studied him for a moment, then smiled softly. Apology accepted, but I think you already knew that before you came here today. Alex chuckled nervously. Yeah, maybe. But there's more. Last night changed me, Emma. Seeing those images, hearing your explanation, it made me realize how narrow-minded I've been. I've spent so much time cracking jokes and making light of serious topics without considering how they affect people. That needs to change. Emma leaned forward, her expression thoughtful. Change is never easy, Alex. But it's worth it. So, what's your plan? Alex explained his idea for a special episode of his show dedicated to exploring different cultural and spiritual symbols. He wanted Emma to co-host, guiding the conversation and helping ensure it remained respectful and meaningful. You've already taught me so much, he said. I can't think of anyone better to help lead this discussion. Emma considered his proposal, her fingers tracing the rim of her coffee cup. It's a good idea, she admitted, but it has to be authentic. If viewers sense that you're doing this just for appearances, it won't work. I get that, Alex replied earnestly. This isn't about saving face. It's about learning and helping others learn too. I want to hear from people whose perspectives are different from mine. I want to understand what makes them tick, what gives their lives meaning. Emma smiled, clearly moved by his sincerity. All right, Alex, let's do it. Over the next few weeks, Alex threw himself into preparing for the episode. He worked closely with Emma to research various symbols and traditions, reaching out to experts and community leaders to participate. They decided to focus on 5 key themes: sacrifice, redemption, resilience, unity, and hope. Each segment would feature a guest sharing their personal connection to a particular symbol, followed by a broader discussion about its significance. As the day of the taping approached, Alex felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. This was uncharted territory for him, and he knew it wouldn't be easy. But he also knew it was important. On the morning of the show, he stood backstage, pacing slightly as the crew prepared the set. Emma joined him, looking calm and composed. You'll do great, she assured him, placing a reassuring hand on his arm. Just remember why we're doing this. Alex nodded, taking a deep breath. Thanks, Emma, for everything. When the cameras rolled, Alex stepped onto the stage to thunderous applause. The audience was packed, eager to see what this special episode had in store. After welcoming everyone, Alex launched into his opening remarks. Tonight, we're doing something a little different, he began, his tone serious but warm. We're going to explore the power of symbols, objects, shapes, and ideas that carry deep meaning for millions of people around the world. Some of you may know that recently, I made a mistake. I joked about something sacred to my guest, Emma Lewis, and in doing so I disrespected not just her but countless others who share her beliefs. That's why we're here tonight, to listen, to learn, and to grow together. The audience erupted into applause, many nodding in approval. Alex gestured for Emma to join him on stage. As she walked out, the crowd cheered even louder. Together they introduced the first guest, a young woman named Rachel who wore a Hamsa hand pendant as a symbol of protection and good fortune. Her story captivated the audience, setting the tone for the rest of the evening. One by one, the guests shared their experiences, each one offering a unique glimpse into the ways symbols shaped their lives. There was David, a veteran who carried a small American flag patch to honor fallen comrades. Maria, a Buddhist monk who explained the significance of the lotus flower. And Jamal, a Muslim man who spoke passionately about the crescent moon as a beacon of guidance and faith. Every story was met with rapt attention, the audience hanging on every word. By the end of the episode, the energy in the studio was electric. Alex and Emma closed the show with a heartfelt conversation about the importance of respecting diversity, not just in beliefs, but in all aspects of life. As the credits rolled, Alex turned to Emma and extended his hand. Thank you, he said, simply, for trusting me and for teaching me. Emma shook his hand, smiling. Thank you for listening, Alex. That's the first step toward real change. As they left the stage, Alex felt a sense of peace he hadn't known in years. This wasn't the end of his journey. It was only the beginning. But for the first time, he felt hopeful about where it might lead. The special episode aired on a Thursday night, and by Friday morning it was the talk of the town. Social media buzzed with reactions, news outlets covered the event extensively, and even late-night comedians mentioned it in their monologues. For once, Alex Carter wasn't the punchline, he was the hero. Viewers praised him for his vulnerability and willingness to grow, while Emma Lewis became a household name as a voice of wisdom and compassion. Alex woke up early that Friday, feeling a mix of relief and pride. He hadn't expected such an overwhelmingly positive response. Scrolling through Twitter, he saw hashtags like respect symbols and listen to learn trending, accompanied by heartfelt messages from people who felt seen and heard. Some shared how the episode reminded them of their own traditions, while others expressed gratitude for learning about beliefs different from their own. It was clear that the show had struck a chord. But despite the praise, Alex knew this was just the beginning. The real work lay ahead, maintaining the momentum and continuing to foster understanding in a world often divided by differences. As he sipped his coffee, he reflected on everything that had led him here. From the initial joke on live TV to the cosmic encounter at the observatory, each step had pushed him further out of his comfort zone. And now he found himself standing at the edge of something new, a path toward genuine connection and growth. Later, that day, Alex met with Lisa and his production team to discuss next steps. "This can't be a one-time thing," he said firmly. "We've started something important, and I want to keep building on it." Lisa nodded, clearly impressed by his commitment. "What do you have in mind?" "I'm thinking of turning this into a series," Alex explained. "Each episode could focus on a specific theme: faith, culture, identity, and feature guests from diverse backgrounds. We'd explore not just symbols but the stories behind them. It would be part education, part conversation, and maybe even part healing." The team loved the idea, and they immediately began brainstorming potential topics and guests. Meanwhile, Alex reached out to Emma to share his plans. "I want you to stay involved," he told her over the phone. "Your guidance has been invaluable, and I think we make a great team." Emma agreed, touched by his sincerity. "I'd be honored to help," she replied. "But remember, Alex, it's not about us. It's about giving people a platform to share their truths." Over the following weeks, Alex and Emma worked tirelessly to bring the series to life. They titled it Beyond Belief, Stories That Unite Us, and promoted it heavily across all platforms. The first episode focused on rituals, how different cultures marked significant moments like births, weddings, and deaths. Guests included a Hindu priest explaining the significance of fire ceremonies, a Jewish rabbi discussing the tradition of breaking glass at weddings, and a Native American elder sharing the importance of vision quests. Each episode followed a similar format: personal stories intertwined with broader discussions about meaning and purpose. Viewers tuned in eagerly, drawn not just by curiosity but by a desire to connect with others. Online forums sprang up where fans discussed the episodes, asking questions and sharing their own experiences. Teachers used clips from the show in classrooms, sparking conversations among students about diversity and empathy. For Alex, hosting the series was both challenging and rewarding. He had never been particularly introspective before, but now he found himself constantly reflecting on what he learned. Every guest brought a fresh perspective, forcing him to confront his assumptions and biases. At times, it was uncomfortable, but always enlightening. One particularly memorable episode featured a woman named Sarah, a former atheist who had converted to Christianity after losing her son in a tragic accident. Her story moved Alex deeply. She spoke about how the cross had become a symbol of hope and redemption for her, representing God's love and sacrifice. Listening to her, Alex realized how much courage it took to hold on to faith in the face of unimaginable pain. After the taping, Alex approached Sarah backstage. "Thank you for sharing your story," he said sincerely. "It made me think about things I've never considered before." Sarah smiled warmly. "That's why I came here. to help people understand. Faith isn't always easy, but it gives me strength when I need it most. Her words stayed with Alex long after she left. He began to see faith not as something abstract or distant, but as a deeply human experience, one rooted in love, loss, and resilience. As the series gained popularity, Alex noticed subtle changes in himself. He became more patient, more willing to listen without interrupting. His humor softened, shifting from sharp jabs to light-hearted observations that brought people together rather than tearing them apart. Colleagues remarked on how grounded he seemed, and friends joked that he'd finally grown up. But perhaps the most profound change was in his relationship with Emma. What had started as a professional collaboration blossomed into a genuine friendship. They spent hours discussing ideas for future episodes, debating philosophical questions, and simply enjoying each other's company. Though their backgrounds were vastly different, Alex coming from Hollywood glitz and Emma from quiet academia, they complemented each other perfectly. One evening, after wrapping up filming for the season finale, they sat together on the studio rooftop, watching the sunset paint the sky in hues of orange and pink. "You know," Alex said thoughtfully, "I never imagined I'd end up here doing this kind of work, I mean." Emma chuckled softly. "Me neither. But look at what we've accomplished. You've touched so many lives, Alex, including your own." He glanced at her, gratitude swelling in his chest. "I couldn't have done it without you. You've taught me so much. Not just about faith, but about humility and grace." Emma shook her head modestly. "You did the hard work, Alex. All I did was point you in the right direction." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, the city lights twinkling below them. For the first time in years, Alex felt truly content. He had spent so much of his life chasing fame and validation, but now he understood that true fulfillment came from making a difference, even if it was just one person at a time. The success of Beyond Belief didn't go unnoticed. Awards poured in, including accolades for promoting inclusivity and fostering dialogue. Critics hailed it as a groundbreaking show that bridged divides and encouraged empathy. Sponsors lined up to support future seasons, eager to align themselves with its message of unity. Yet for Alex, the greatest reward was the impact he saw in everyday interactions. Strangers approached him in grocery stores and coffee shops, thanking him for creating a space where their voices mattered. Parents wrote letters saying their children now asked thoughtful questions about other cultures and religions. Even old rivals from the entertainment industry reached out, congratulating him on using his platform for good. Through it all, Alex remained humble, aware that he still had much to learn. He continued wearing the small cross pendant Emma had given him, a reminder of the journey they'd embarked on together. It wasn't about adopting her beliefs. It was about honoring the lessons she'd taught him. As the sun dipped below the horizon that evening, Alex turned to Emma with a smile. "Ready for season 2? He asked. She grinned back. "Absolutely. Let's keep changing hearts and minds, one story at a time." The second season of Beyond Belief launched with even more enthusiasm than the first. Word had spread about the show's unique approach to storytelling, and people from all walks of life tuned in, eager to hear stories that celebrated diversity and fostered understanding. Alex Carter, once known for his quick wit and biting humor, had transformed into a thoughtful host who listened deeply and asked meaningful questions. Emma Lewis remained by his side, guiding the conversations, with her calm wisdom and unwavering compassion. Each episode brought new revelations, not just for the audience but for Alex himself. He began to see patterns emerge in the stories people shared, whether it was a Muslim man explaining the significance of prayer beads, a Buddhist nun describing the symbolism of mandalas, or an indigenous elder talking about the sacredness of water. There was always a common thread: humanity's search for connection, purpose, and meaning. These universal themes resonated with viewers, sparking conversations that transcended cultural and religious boundaries. One particularly powerful episode focused on forgiveness. The guest was a man named Daniel, who had survived a violent attack years earlier. Instead of seeking revenge, he chose to forgive his attacker, a decision that baffled many, including Alex. How do you forgive someone who did something so terrible? Alex asked during the interview, his voice tinged with disbelief. Daniel leaned forward, his expression calm yet firm. Forgiveness isn't about excusing what happened. It's about freeing yourself from hatred and anger. Holding on to those feelings only hurts you in the end. His words struck a chord with Alex, who realized how often he had let resentment fester in his own life. Whether it was toward rivals in the entertainment industry or people who criticized him harshly. Forgiveness wasn't easy, but Daniel's story planted a seed in Alex's mind. Maybe it was time to let go of old grudges and focus on building bridges instead. After the taping, Alex thanked Daniel sincerely. "Your story made me think about things I've been carrying around for too long," he admitted. "I don't know if I can forgive everyone right away, but I want to try." Daniel smiled knowingly. "It's a process. Take it one step at a time." As the weeks went by, Alex noticed subtle changes not just within himself but also in the world around him. Social media feeds that had once been filled with divisive arguments now featured thoughtful discussions sparked by beyond belief. Teachers reported using clips from the show in their classrooms, helping students develop empathy and critical thinking skills. Community leaders organized events inspired by the series, bringing together people from different backgrounds to share meals, stories, and laughter. Even Alex's personal relationships improved. Friends he hadn't spoken to in years reached out, saying they were proud of the work he was doing. His family, who had sometimes felt overshadowed by his career, grew closer as he made an effort to reconnect with them. During a holiday gathering, his younger sister hugged him tightly and whispered, "You're finally becoming the person we always knew you could be." Emma noticed the changes too. One evening, after wrapping up filming for another successful episode, she pulled Alex aside. "You've come such a long way," she said warmly. "Do you realize how much good you're doing?" Alex chuckled softly, rubbing the back of his neck. "Honestly, sometimes it feels like I'm still playing catch-up, but yeah, I guess I've learned a lot, and I owe a lot of that to you." Emma shook her head modestly. "You give yourself too little credit. Growth is hard, and you've embraced it wholeheartedly. That takes courage." Her words meant a lot to Alex, but he knew the journey wasn't over. There would always be more to learn, more perspectives to understand, and more hearts to touch. Still, he felt a deep sense of fulfillment knowing that he was making a difference, even if it was just one conversation at a time. The season finale aired on a crisp autumn evening, and it was nothing short of extraordinary. The theme was unity, and the guests represented a wide range of beliefs and backgrounds. A Jewish rabbi spoke about the importance of community, while a Hindu priest explained how karma connected everyone through actions and consequences. An atheist activist shared how secular humanism emphasized kindness and cooperation, and a Christian pastor talked about the power of love to overcome division. Toward the end of the episode, Alex turned to Emma, his eyes shining with emotion. "This has been an incredible journey," he said, addressing both her and the audience. "We've explored so many symbols, traditions, and ideas, but the most important lesson I've learned is this. No matter where we come from or what we believe, we're all connected. We all want the same things, to be seen, to be heard, and to belong." Emma nodded, her voice steady but full of warmth. "And that connection starts with listening. When we take the time to truly hear each other, we create space for understanding and healing. That's what this show has been about from the beginning." The studio erupted into applause, and Alex couldn't help but smile. For years he had chased fame and success, but now he realized that true fulfillment came from making a positive impact. As the credits rolled, he stood backstage with Emma, watching the audience file out, many of them wiping tears from their eyes. "So, what's next?" Emma asked, breaking the silence. Alex grinned mischievously. "Well, I was thinking, maybe we take this global. Imagine traveling the world, meeting people from every corner of the planet and sharing their stories." Emma raised an eyebrow playfully. "You'd really leave Hollywood behind for that?" "Absolutely," Alex replied without hesitation. There's so much more to explore and so many more voices to amplify. Besides, I think I've found my true calling." Emma laughed, shaking her head in amazement. "You've changed so much, Alex. I'm proud of you." "Thanks," he said, his tone softening. "But remember, you're the one who started all of this. If it weren't for your cross and your patience, I'd still be cracking jokes instead of having these conversations." They shared a quiet moment, reflecting on everything they had accomplished together. Then, hand in hand, they stepped outside, into the cool night air. Above them, the stars twinkled brightly, reminding them of the vast universe they had glimpsed at the observatory months earlier. It was humbling to think about how small they were in the grand scheme of things, and yet how much potential they had to make a difference. As they walked to their cars, Alex paused for a moment, looking back at the studio. "You know," he said thoughtfully, "I used to think success was about being famous. But now I realize it's about leaving the world better than you found it." Emma smiled, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "And you're doing exactly that, Alex. One story at a time." With those words, they parted ways, each heading home to rest before embarking on the next chapter of their journey. For Alex Carter, the road ahead was uncertain but full of promise. He had started as a comedian chasing laughs, but he had become something far greater: a storyteller who bridged divides, a listener who valued understanding, and a human being who believed in the power of connection. And though the path might twist and turn, he knew one thing for sure: he was ready to keep moving forward.